Telephone number you can dial, country code 1-201-771-3013. So we begin tonight with news out of the state of Maine, home to radio station WBCQ, which carries this radio show. Maine tonight has become the second U.S. state to bar former President Donald Trump from the state's 2024 primary ballot. Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows, whose office oversees elections in the state, announced the decision today, citing an interpretation of the 14th Amendment, which contends that an individual who has supported or engaged in insurrection is ineligible to serve in the highest office. Of course, this move comes after the Colorado Supreme Court's recent ruling, which the Colorado Republican Party filed an appeal against in the U.S. Supreme Court. The Trump campaign issued a statement denouncing the decision, vowing to move quickly to fight the Maine Secretary of State's, quote, atrocious decision, unquote, in state court to prevent it from taking effect. Trump campaign spokesman Stephen Chung said, quote, the Maine Secretary of State is a former ACLU attorney, a virulent leftist, and a hyper-partisan Biden.
I take it you're not here. Oh, you are. I thought that was you peeping out these blinds down here. It looked like you. I couldn't tell. Is you or Tony? All right. Well, I'm fixing to damn get at it. I got to smoke a cigarette and then I'm got to go because it's cold. All right. See you, buddy.
Supporting Democrat who has decided to interfere in the presidential election on behalf of crooked Joe Biden, unquote. Chung went on to say, we are witnessing in real time the attempted theft of an election and the disenfranchisement of the American voter. Democrats in blue states are recklessly and unconstitutionally suspending the civil rights of the American voter by attempting to summarily remove President Trump's name from the ballot. Make no mistake, these partisan election interference efforts are a hostile assault on American democracy. Biden and the Democrats simply do not trust the American voter in a free and fair election and now are relying on the force of government institutions to protect their grip on power, unquote. Now, Mr. Chung noted that state and federal courts in Michigan, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Arizona, Florida, Rhode Island, and West Virginia, along with 10 more federal jurisdictions, have all rejected these bad faith, bogus 14th Amendment ballot challenges. Chung went on to say, quote, we know both the Constitution and the American people are on our side in this fight. President Trump's dominating campaign has a commanding lead in the polls that has dramatically expanded as crooked Joe Biden's presidency continues to fail, unquote. Jason Meister, a member of President Trump's campaign advisory panel here in the New York area, told media outlets that the Maine action would fail. Quote, these 14th Amendment challenges are last gasping breaths of a dying party, unquote. a few days ago when I reported on this radio show that the Colorado State Supreme Court had ruled the way they ruled. I referred to the so-called justices on that court as having appeared to become Bozo the Clown, bozos in black robes. But the Maine Secretary of State, Shenna Bellows, I don't think she's a bozo. I think she's outright evil. And on its face, the things that took place in Washington, D.C. on January 6th, 2021 were not and cannot be described as an insurrection because none of the people who attended the mostly peaceful protest were armed. If it was an actual insurrection, the Americans who went to Washington would have been carrying guns. They would have entered the U.S. Capitol by force as opposed to them being allowed in, which is what happened. The Capitol Police opened the doors and let the protesters in. But had it been an actual insurrection, the people who went to Washington would have been armed with guns. They would have entered the Capitol by force. They would have grabbed members of the House of Representatives and members of the Senate, and they would have killed them right there on the spot, in the Capitol, outside the Capitol. There would have been bloodshed on a level that this country has never before seen. That, ladies and gentlemen, would have been an actual insurrection. But what we have now, especially in the persons of the Democrat Party, is we have people who are personally mental weaklings. And I think this Shenna Bellows, the Secretary of State of Maine, is a mental weakling. Not only does she not apply the correct terminology to the mostly peaceful protests that took place down on January 6th in Washington, but she takes it upon herself to decide whether all the men and women of the state of Maine can vote for whom they want. See, and this is what really exposes that this is not ignorance. This is not Bozo the Clown. What we're seeing here is actual evil. Now, this doesn't affect me. I'm not a citizen of Maine. And if the people of the state of Maine are such spineless, gutless, good-for-nothing, lazy-ass pushovers that they are willing to sit idly by while this bimbo, Shenna Bellows, the Secretary of State, deprives them of their vote, then you know what? The people of the state of Maine don't deserve the right to vote. They don't deserve to be free because they are inadequate as Americans. If you people in the state of Maine sit back and do nothing, if you sit on your lazy, good-for-nothing asses, while this bimbo, Shenna Bellows, deprives you of your ability to vote, then you are nothing more than a slave. You personally, you people around there at the radio station WBCQ up there in Maine, if you don't get up and do something about this to protect your right to vote, You're no good. A long, long time ago, one of the men who picked up guns and fought and bled to create this country, a guy you may be familiar with, Alexander Hamilton. You got a $10 bill in your wallet? Take it out and look at it. I believe Alexander Hamilton is the guy whose picture is on the front of it. You know, just some inconsequential guy who happens to be on the money in your wallet. Alexander Hamilton wrote one of the Federalist Papers. Now, you may have heard of the Federalist Papers. The Federalist Papers were written by the Founding Fathers after the Revolutionary War, where we had won our independence from King George III in England. And they wrote the Federalist Papers to try to explain to the Americans, who were now their own country, what type of government the Founding Fathers were creating for the new country, and how that government would interact with the people in the 13 colonies, which were now 13 states. In particular, you should read Federalist 28. It was written by Alexander Hamilton to the people of the state of New York. And in Federalist 28, Hamilton talks about the idea of restraining the legislative authority in regard to the common defense of all the people. And Hamilton wrote, it's a rather lengthy Federalist paper, Federalist 28. But in paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Alexander Hamilton got right to the point. Hamilton wrote in paragraph 6, quote, "If the representatives of the people betray their constituents, then there is no resource left but in the exertion of that original right of self-defense, which is paramount to all positive forms of government." And I want to emphasize, Hamilton wrote, the original right of self-defense, which is paramount to all positive forms of government. You people in Maine, you people out in Colorado, your right to self-defense is paramount to your present governments. And getting back to Federalist 28 and getting back to what Alexander Hamilton wrote, quote, "The citizens must rush tumultuously to arms, without concert, without system, without resource, except in their courage and despair," unquote. He didn't say file a lawsuit. He didn't say sign a petition. He didn't say write a letter, hold a protest. No. Hamilton said, if the representatives of the people betray their constituents, there is no resource left but the original right of self-defense. The citizens must rush tumultuously to arms, without concert, without system, without resource, except in their courage and despair. The American people in each of the 50 states have that right. I'll be back.
Imagine if I told you that an earthquake was going to hit tomorrow right where you live. That it would be 6.5 in magnitude with aftershocks occurring twice 25 minutes apart. You'd no doubt talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you an earthquake will happen tomorrow. But what if it does? Shouldn't you have a plan? Visit oregon.gov/OMD/OEM and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by the Oregon Office of Emergency Management, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
(9:16 p.m. here in Metro New York City). Hal Turner back with you. You know, when Alexander Hamilton wrote these words in Federalist 28 back in the 1700s, he wrote about concepts that were completely normal and natural back then. The point I wish to make is that the ideals which existed in protecting liberty back then are 100% valid right now. The notion that four lowly, sniveling public servant garbage on the Colorado State Supreme Court would dare to order a former president of the United States off the ballot in that state. And the idea that this bimbo in Maine, a single Secretary of State, would declare that a former president of this country cannot appear on a ballot is arrogance, it is hubris, it is tyrannical. This is tyranny. The people of the United States of America have the absolute right to defend themselves by force. We, the people of the United States, are being attacked by the lowly, sniveling, public servant garbage whose very job exists to serve us. And this lowly, sniveling, public servant garbage is so impressed with itself, it thinks it's so untouchable that they have actually resorted to deciding for citizens now in 2 states who they can or cannot vote for. To the Colorado State Supreme Court justices and to the Maine Secretary of State, I remind you that you, and I mean you personally, are nothing more than lowly, sniveling, public servant garbage. And you will step and fetch like the public servant niggers that you are, or we, the American people, can get rid of you. We do not have to tolerate you. We may be headed for civil war in this country. And what's interesting about that, you know, it's been a topic of discussion for a number of years now, especially since the Democrat Party, that lion-thieving, good-for-nothing group of malcontent, misfit pieces of shit, That's what Democrats are. Malcontent, misfit, no good pieces of shit. That's what you are. If you're a Democrat, I am calling you a piece of shit to your face. We've been talking about civil war since 2020, since those no good pieces of garbage in the Democrat Party stole the presidency through election fraud. And that's when we realized, a lot of us, what a cesspool of human garbage the federal government actually is. We had the Congress of the United States that's supposed to represent the American people rubber stamp the stolen election. Now, on January 6th, there was a mostly peaceful protest. But, looking back on January 6th, I'm sad that the people who were at the Capitol didn't go in there with guns and slaughter both houses of Congress. I would have thought it was great back then at the time if they would have dragged them out by their hair, put ropes around their necks, and hung them from the street lamp poles across from the Capitol. That's what I wanted to see back in 2021, January 2021. But it didn't happen. And now look, because it didn't happen, now look what's going on. And these no good Democrats, these two-legged bags of human garbage who stole the presidency, they know their man didn't get 81 million votes like they claim about Joe Biden. He's a fraudulent, illegitimate president. His administration is a fraudulent, illegitimate administration. But we didn't know how bad it was in Washington, D.C. till we saw what Congress rubber stamping it. And that's when a whole bunch of us realized it's an entire cesspool of human garbage down there in Washington. Garbage!
Hi, this is Cindy calling about the news.
They are. So we have an illegitimate president put in there by a Congress that showed itself to be what? Illegitimate. They rubber stamped an overtly fraudulent election. And then, worst of all, the federal fucking courts. These good-for-nothing judges on the federal bench, these pieces of human shit that infest the judiciary. More than 50% of the federal judges on the bench in the United States of America right now are garbage, human garbage. They run roughshod over the Constitution, and I saw it with that uppity nigger judge, Michael Shipp, who was a magistrate here in New Jersey at the time. And when I was charged with a federal crime for an editorial they didn't like, that uppity nigger piece of shit, Michael Shipp, who lives in Monmouth Junction, New Jersey, denied me bail, even though I had no criminal history, owned my house, was married, and was the father of a child. Didn't matter. He denied me bail with no criminal history at all. You fucking nigger animal. And then 30 days go by. I get transferred by the U.S. Marshals from New Jersey to Chicago, and I come across piece of shit number 2, the Honorable Martin T. Ashman, Ashman. He should have taken off the last letters of his name and changed it to Hole, so he would have been Martin T. Asshole. Finds out I'm a national security intelligence asset. for the FBI, level 5, authorized for foreign travel to spy, steal, damage, destroy, or even kill to protect the United States of America. And the rat bastard Jew fuck denied me bail. And when we wanted to subpoena the FBI to come into court and testify that I was a perfectly reasonable, safe person who would come to court, and the U.S. Attorney, William R. Hogan of the Northern District of Illinois at Chicago, told the FBI not to honor the subpoenas that we served on them. And this filthy kike Jew, Martin T. Ashman, actually said on the record, I don't need any testimony. I don't need to hear any FBI agents. There's no combination of restrictions that could assure Mr. Turner will show up in court. And denied me bail again. You Jew fuck bastard piece of shit. They run roughshod over the Constitution. I watched my right to bail get denied in New Jersey by Magistrate Michael Shipp. I watched my right to bail be denied a second time by Ashman in Chicago. And in Ashman's court, I watched my right to compel witnesses to testify on my behalf, which is in the Constitution, go right out the window. And of course, I watched my First Amendment freedom of speech and my First Amendment freedom of the press go out the window when the charge itself was filed. They arrested me for an editorial they didn't like. First Amendment, gone. Right to bail, gone. Right to compel witnesses to testify on your behalf, gone. And that was back in 2009. And what did the American people do for me? Oh, guts. Guts and ghoul. Balls in the ass. I got nothing. All those people that were big Hal Turner show fans. Some of them left so fast, they ran away so fast, they left skid marks. And now, look, they've gotten worse, America. Now we're in 2023. And these good-for-nothing pieces of shit on the Colorado State Supreme Court bounced Trump from the ballot there, and this bozo bimbo garbage in Maine has now bounced Trump off the ballot there. Telling you what, folks, we're headed toward a civil war. And the targets are self-identifying. They're coming out. It's a giant coming out party. The sensitive, tolerant, liberal left are the most intolerant tyrants in the whole country. And they're not going to stop until they are stopped. Which brings us back to Alexander Hamilton and Federalist 28. One of the founding fathers whose image is on the $10 bill in your wallet. If the representatives of the people betray their constituents, then there is no resource left but the original right of self-defense, which is paramount to all positive forms of government. And later in that same Federalist paper, he wrote, the citizens must rush tumultuously to arms. He wasn't one of you yellow-bellied, pansy, spineless fags. Oh, maybe I should write a strongly worded letter. Oh, I'm going to have to file a lawsuit. Oh, my goodness me. I'm going to have to maybe protest. He didn't say none of that shit. He said, rush tumultuously to arms. Folks, it's one of the founding fathers wrote this. Look it up yourself. Federalist Papers, Federalist 28. And I'm referring to paragraph 6. These left-wing tyrants and their step and fetch public servants are not going to stop until they are stopped. I'll be back.
Philadelphia, July 4th, 1776. Here they meet to forge from ancient old world ways a new vision, a vision of freedom for themselves and for their posterity. On this day they light a torch, a lamp, a beacon for the ages. On this day a new republic turns spark to flame and bathes a world once dark in hard-won freedom's light. The flame still burns, the torch still held high, by words that speak of liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. And there are other words, new words, the words of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. The same revolutionary beliefs for which our forefathers fought are still at issue. The belief that the rights of man come not from the generosity of the state, but from the hand of God. We dare not forget that we are heirs of that first revolution. That is what John Kennedy said. He said, "Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike, that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans, born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace, proud of our ancient heritage, and unwilling to permit the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed." This is what he said. This is what John Kennedy said. We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty. This much we pledge, and more. The light of freedom still shines. It is our task. It is the task of this generation of Americans to keep it strong and bright. In this task, we shall not fail.
Oh, 9:34 p.m. here in Metro New York City. You know, having to deal with this bullshit, this liberal tyranny bullshit, is really getting on my nerves. And I thought I did real well when the Colorado State Supreme Court pulled its maneuver. Actually, it did do very well. But now another state? No. No. The people doing these things, ladies and gentlemen, are self-identifying as things to take care of if the country devolves into civil war, right? Some of you are out there saying, my God. Well, let me ask you something. Those of you who are aghast at me quoting Alexander Hamilton. What exactly in your weak little mind do you think it takes to preserve liberty? Oh, well, it doesn't take that. Really? Because that's what it took for King George III to get out of this country and leave us alone. It took men with guns killing King George III's government. You see, you have had it cushy and soft all your life. That's why you are a mental weakling. But when the rubber meets the road, when it is time to reassert freedom, it takes men with guns killing the tyrants. Not aiming the guns and saying, let's have a conversation. No. When it's time to pick up the guns, the time for conversation is already over. The reason the guns come out is so that the killing can begin. You ever watch movies, fake Hollywood stuff, where some person who has some grievance has a gun and goes and does whatever they're going to do, and then when they get the target of their grievance in range, they want to talk it out. They want to explain to the target why they're going to kill them. And what inevitably happens? The SWAT sniper on the roof across the street puts a bullet through their head before they're able to kill the guy that caused them to go off the deep end. When the guns come out, there is no more talking. When the target is visible, bang! That's the talk. And I fear that we are at the point where the original right of self-defense may have to be utilized. I am 61 years old. Never in my entire life would a lowly, sniveling government public servant dare to do what the public servants do nowadays. And you know why they do it? Because nobody picks up a gun and kills them for it. And so the rest of them watch. The rest of the public servants watch and say, wow, so-and-so, I thought he was really up the creek, but look, he got away with it. Well, if he can, maybe I can too. How do you think they think? He got away with it, maybe I can too. Why do you think they came after me in 2009 when I quoted Thomas Jefferson's Tree of Liberty letter about 3 federal judges in Chicago, where Thomas Jefferson wrote the Tree of Liberty must be replenished from time to time with, the blood of tyrants and of patriots. They want the idea of the original right of self-defense to be erased from history. They don't teach it in school anymore. They don't even mention the Federalist Papers anymore. They don't want citizens realizing that the government exists to serve us. Not to rule us, to serve us. You want another example? Let's go to the state of Indiana. Other news. An Indiana state legislator, Representative Vernon Smith, a Democrat from Gary, Indiana, has introduced a bill to block education in grades K through 12 about Christopher Columbus or any president of the United States who owned an enslaved person. I kid you not, he introduced House Bill 1017 seeking to block education, to erase certain history that he apparently doesn't like, which is exactly what one might expect from, let's say, a filthy communist usurper. Let me read you the text of Indiana State Legislature House Bill number 1017. Be it enacted by the General Assembly of the State of Indiana. I'm going to skip the citations, the state code. Following, added to the Indiana Code as a new section to read as follows. 1. Section 5A. Except as provided in subsection B, a school, an employee or staff member of a school, or a third-party vendor used by a school to provide instruction may not provide instruction to a student in kindergarten through grade 12 concerning 1. Christopher Columbus, or 2. A president of the United States who owned an enslaved person. And then it has a section B. Instruction concerning a person described in subsection A1 or A2 is permitted if the instruction concerns the person's involvement in the 1. Institution of slavery, 2. Harmful effects of colonization, or 3. Decimation of indigenous populations throughout the world. That's the text of House Bill 1017 in Indiana, introduced by State Representative Vernon Smith. Now, instead of, let me tell you what political shit Indiana State Representative Vernon Smith actually is. Instead of honoring the man who discovered the continent where he now thrives, where Vernon Smith now thrives, instead of honoring the man who discovered the very country he thrives in, and instead of celebrating the white man for fighting a war to free his kind, slaves, this guy, Vernon Smith, instead wants to erase legitimate history. How's that for gratitude? Oh, and by the way, Vernon Smith is black. Instead of celebrating the white man for fighting a war that gave his kind freedom, he wants to erase parts of white history. How's that for gratitude? That's how grateful the black folk are. They're not grateful for the freedom that white people fought and died for them. They want to erase that history. I'll be back.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
(9:46 p.m.) Hal Turner back with you live from Metro New York City. You know, I obviously still have the sore throat that I have had now for 8, 9, 10 days. It's getting better, although I probably blew the living hell out of it tonight. I'm pissed. I really am pissed. I had enough. We have ungrateful, spoiled, brat, crybaby bullies.
Orange man, bad. We have to keep him off the ballot.
A lot of these people I'm not going to say that. Never mind. Look, what this is coming down to is real simple, all right? We either have freedom or we don't. The Constitution either means what it says or it doesn't. Government either serves us or we are their slaves. There is no middle ground. None. And look, I'm sitting here on my ass, comfortable as all get out, except I'm sick. Fevers and sore throats and coughing and diarrhea. Ugh. For a week, over a week now. But other than that, I got all the gadgets and gizmos a person could want. I got a nice, easy life. And it ain't easy at all to decide to give all of this up to start going and doing the things that need doing. But I'm telling you, folks, we're not quite there yet, but we are pretty goddamn close. Really goddamn close. God gave us our freedom. It's up to us to keep it. King David was a favorite of God. He was a warrior. He went out and killed tens of thousands of people in wars he waged. Killing for a righteous reason is allowable. Murder is not allowed. Killing is allowed. Murder is the unlawful killing of an innocent. The people assaulting our freedom are not innocent. These are assaults upon the American people. The things that are going on in the country right now. Assaults. We have a right to defend ourselves from these assaults. And Alexander Hamilton in Federalist 28 made clear we have the right to defend ourselves by force of arms. And we are getting real close. I'm told there are several other states looking to pull this same bullshit. Go ahead. More will self-identify. And with that, it's 9:50. I'm going to open the telephones. Let me clear the phone lines of the people who called in for the sole purpose of listening. Those phone lines are now clear. The telephone number you can dial is country code 1-201-771-3013. Have you noticed in the last 15 minutes my voice is less raspy? I must have blew the hell out of the cold bug that's in my throat. Oh, man. I am tired of being shit on by the people who are paid by my tax dollars. You people who work in government, your job exists to serve us. Get it? And if you don't get that, get the fuck out. Do you think you're there because we somehow can't take care of ourselves or we're too stupid to know what to do? Go fuck yourself. You see, we're out here running businesses, designing products, writing software, engaging in manufacturing, engaging in engineering. We produce actual, tangible goods and services. You in government produce nothing. You produce nothing. And that is what you're worth. You personally are worth nothing. And you dare to say, well, the people aren't smart enough to do this. The people don't know enough to do this. What you're suffering from, you government people who think this way, you're suffering from the Dunning-Kruger syndrome. That's when a person of low mental ability suffers a cognitive dissonance and actually begins to think that they are smarter than everybody else, when in fact, they're not only stupid, they're too stupid to realize how stupid they actually are. That's you in government, some of you people. Some of you, not all of you. Many of you, most of you, but not all of you. The Dunning-Kruger effect. Look it up. Bet you never heard that before, did you? Why? Well, I'll give you 3 guesses. You ain't the smartest in the world. The world don't revolve around you. You ain't the brightest bulb in the chain. The lights are on upstairs, but nobody's home with most of you government people. And you have the balls to think you know better? Kiss my ass. Your job exists to serve me. Now go step and fetch, you government nigger animal. To the phones I go. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Yes, hello, Hal?
Yeah.
Chance, West Virginia.
What's up?
I just got one thing to say, and let me put it very simply for Mr. and Mrs. America. Mr. and Mrs. America, they are spitting in your face, they are punching you in the face, and they're saying, what are you going to do about it? And that's what it boils down to, Hal. Thank you.
Chance in West Virginia. Have a good night. Hello, caller, you're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Hal. Steve from South Dakota.
What's up?
You know, there's a lot of different ways to divide the planet into 2 groups, but I have for a very long time said that one of the best ways is these 2 groups, producers and those who hinder them. And it's not too hard to see which is in which category. But when you were describing events tonight, what occurred to me was for decades, everybody on both sides that's got two IQs to rub together knew that it would come to a day like this. That's why the Founding Fathers spoke the way they did. That wasn't a one-off what they were engaged in, and they knew it. Everybody else did too. I believe that's the reason for the millions of illegal, undercover, foreign mercenaries pre-positioned in this country so that when the fuse is lit, they can run for cover and whistle for their proxies and have their butt covered, hopefully, by those pre-positioned people.
Mm.
Steve Quayle had an extensive thing about, I think the guy was in Britain, but it's going on all over, how they'd taken over his bed and breakfast. Their government had stationed, I don't know how many military-age men there that behaved military in every way, told him that he was to expect a large parcel at such and such a time. And
all right, let me interrupt you because Steve Quayle sent me a text message to my cell phone earlier tonight.
Yep.
And they have video from the border.
Mm-hmm.
And there were guys at the border with bullhorns addressing the hordes of illegal aliens that are streaming into the country, and they're speaking in Spanish. Steve had a man who can speak Spanish translate what the guys on the bullhorns are saying, and they're saying, quote, "Comrades, I exhort you to be the vanguard of the workers' revolution, to drive deep into the heart of the capitalist beast and kill him in his lair to free the oppressed," unquote. All right, this is hardcore Cuban Marxist agitators. And this is what they're telling on bullhorns to the illegal aliens that are swarming into the country. "Comrades, I exhort you to be the vanguard of the workers' revolution, to drive deep into the heart of the capitalist beast and kill him in his lair to free the oppressed."
And why are these people not in jail on charges of premeditated murder?
Because the government that is supposed to serve us is betraying us again. Steve in South Dakota, thanks for calling.